Why did the salamander cross the road? It almost sounds like a joke, but this actually happens in many parts of the eastern United States. In order to understand this natural phenomenon better, we're going to have to take a closer look at where these salamanders live. I'm Mark Eastburn, and this is Science from All Angles, Nature Near You. This story began on a warm, wet evening in the end of winter in East Brunswick, New Jersey, where a road had been closed for the night. So now we're here, the road is closed. There is some water on the ground. We'll see what we can find.
You may notice it's kind of hard to see me. I guarantee it won't be that hard to see the amphibians, but the reason why is I'm using a very low light level right now, so as to not disturb the amphibians. I also need to see where I'm stepping because I definitely don't want to step on any frogs or salamanders that might be in my way. It is starting to rain a little bit, which is a good sign. No sign of anything yet in the leaves. Right behind me there's some noise from a highway nearby, but there goes some cars. But there are some wood frogs falling behind me. I kind of hear them a little bit. And here we have one of the ones we expected to see. We have a beautiful wood frog.
The wood frog is one of the few animals that can freeze in the winter and thaw out in the spring still alive. But frogs weren't really why we came here, and it wasn't long before we discovered our first salamander. What I had observed so far still didn't explain why the salamanders were in the street, or why some parts of this woodland were completely alive with sound. In order to answer that part of this question, I thought I should wait for the daytime in order to better see the surrounding area. I returned to this location in the daytime in order to figure out what sorts of needs the animals in this area had and why they were crossing the road in order to meet those needs.
Behind me is a vernal pool, which might hold a secret.
Vernal pools are kind of like large puddles. They fill up with water in the springtime or any time when it's very rainy, and they usually dry out by the end of summer, which means that lots of animals that might have to lay their eggs in the water don't have to worry about fish eating their eggs.
People can sometimes do a really good job of blocking animals from the habitats they need. So on this side of me, we have the vernal pools where the salamanders and frogs want to lay their eggs, whereas on this side of me we have the wooded area where most of these animals actually live. And what they need to do is get across this road in order to lay their eggs each spring.
It's the arrangement of this habitat that explains the phenomenon of salamanders on the roads. They're trying to go from their forest habitat to the vernal pools where they lay their eggs in the spring, or late winter in our case. While the arrangement of this habitat might explain why there are salamanders on the roads, and also why there are wood frogs, because wood frogs also live in the forest and come out to the vernal pools in order to lay their eggs, as well as the spring peepers and the New Jersey chorus frogs that we were able to hear. But what about these bullfrogs that I also saw on the street that evening? What I think is that there were some food items around that bullfrogs would certainly be interested in eating, including this slug here. So I suspect that these bullfrogs were just coming out to fill their bellies after a long winter's rest. So why did the salamander cross the road? In order to get to the vernal pool. That's where these amphibians lay their eggs each spring. This has been Mark Eastburn with Science from All Angles, Nature Near You, and I hope you learned something about the needs of certain animals and their habitats. I hope you will discuss this with anyone who you might meet today and continue the conversation, and I hope you will also stay tuned for our next episode.